Hey guys, welcome back to Location 1980. We're glad that you can join us once again for our art podcast. We focus on artists, and since we've started this podcast, let me start over. I'm your host, Jesse Fortune, my co-host, Eric Ringman. And since we've started this, I've always thought about having our guest on, Bert Esenherz, our honored guest, a good friend of mine, a mentor, a killer artist in so many different ways, and we're excited to have you here. Welcome to the show, Bert.
Thank you very much for having me.
I gotta ask, like we asked Jim, have you ever been on a podcast?
No, I haven't been.
Okay, well we're just here shooting the breeze. So we've had several conversations that lasted longer than most podcasts. So I know you got it in you. And then you guys just met today, right?
We did, yeah, probably about 15 minutes ago, right before the tape started rolling.
I've seen you on the screen many times, so
well, okay.
Watching you before what you're doing.
Well, then you have a leg up that I do not, so this will be an adventure for me.
Yeah, for both of us. That's great. But even since you've been here at 1980, Eric, you've been here 4 years plus, maybe?
We're coming up on 4, yeah, because it was mid-2020. And I think I know where you're going with this, which is I've heard lots of stories that start with, okay, so this one time with Bert over the years from you. So there's a certain mythology that I am being present to right now as well.
Hopefully that's why I'm infamous.
That's the best kind of famous.
Yes.
Well, 100%. Well, Bert, I'm sure people, well, first of all, too, for our loyal listeners who are not watching us on YouTube, we got to address the elephant in the room. I got a new look. I've been hiding the Covalis, they call it, back in the hood. I got rid of the Frohawk. It was time to hang it up for a while. So we're going to go long hair, hat, no hair.
Hair.
Oh, okay, hair. All right, cool. But hat, for sure.
Well, I didn't know that you were clean shaven for like a solid 5 weeks. Yeah. And I was here like all the time. And I'd hang out with him for hours. But he always had a hat on.
I was waiting for the right moment.
I did not know.
I think I was waiting for right now. I was like, as soon as we schedule Bert, it's going to be the big reveal. I don't want to steal your thunder, Bert. So that's all the surprises I have today. But yeah, so welcome back. We're going to start with Bert's. If you can hear a slight accent, you might know that Bert is definitely maybe not from the States. So you're from Germany?
I'm from Berlin, Germany. Yes.
Okay. And did you, when you were in Berlin, like way back in the day, take us back to like maybe one of your earliest like kind of art memories or just the scene, like what got you walking towards art? Or...
I mean, growing up in Berlin was very exciting because Berlin seemed to be, for me, the center of anything. You know, it's just like the art scene was always big. It had a history because of the wall was divided for a long time. And people liked to move to Berlin because there was no really law enforcement, you know, kind of no man's land, you know.
Was it, I don't want to date you or myself or my lack of knowledge, but was the wall up? Were you there obviously for that or no? Or
I'm born before the wall came up.
Oh, okay.
Sorry to long time around now.
Well, I want to clarify that. Not just only before it went down, before it went up. Okay.
One before the wall went up.
Oh, okay. And that was just what, political East and West Germany?
Yeah.
So when you thought Germany was like starting to come into its, like, how old were you when you started discovering the art scene or just you were into the rave or techno scene?
I was pretty late. I was kind of doing sports. I was not a professional wrestler, but I was a national wrestler, you know.
Okay.
I've been doing wrestling. And
that's just like Olympic style wrestling, not WWE?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Just like Greek style. So, and I didn't know anything about art until I was 18 or 19. And then for some reason, I don't even know why, I started drawing. Yeah, just like anybody else would doodle around, you know. And,
sure.
Then it became larger and larger and larger, you know. Until I applied for the art school. It was a very prestigious art school in Berlin. And they wouldn't take me because I wasn't good enough.
It's a good welcome to the art scene.
My school average wasn't good enough. When you graduate college, I was kind of in between.
Sure.
And I could read and write, but more than that. So anyway, and then instead I applied for media design.
What is it?
Media design.
Oh, okay.
Media design.
Like film.
Design school,
Okay.
So I've been doing media design as a school and, studying this one. And when I came out, when I was finished, I was too old already because I couldn't get my own projects because at this time I was already, let me see.
And you're saying you're too old?
24, 25. No, I was 27 already when I finished.
And it's like too old for the scene or too old to...
No, it's just like when you have, you end up in an agency, in an advertisement agency. That's where everybody ends up. And when you're a certain age, you are above the age where actually the target group is much younger. So they would take younger people they're living in the scene, in that moment,
For their aesthetic was better. So how'd you deal with that adversity? Right.
I was just like, for me, it was just boring. I'm sitting on a computer editing, everybody else's work, It was good money, but it wasn't what I want to do. And then I just quit without thinking of the consequences. Sure. And became a bartender. And I told everybody I'm an artist. But
at the bar?
Yeah.
But did you work at like several bars or anywhere in particular?
I worked for three times a week in one bar. And it was kind of the bar,
And that's downtown Berlin or somewhere in Berlin?
Yeah.
Cool.
And then anyway, and because when you're a bartender, you have lots of power. Kind of, you give a shot, whatever, to somebody. So like people want to know you,
Sure.
And how I introduced myself, always like, I'm actually not a bartender, I'm an artist, But instead of doing any art, I would do, I would party, For example, when I work, after work, 4 o'clock in the morning, I would go to the billiard table in the back. We start playing billiard until 10 o'clock in the morning, and then you would sleep until 2, 3 o'clock and then get back to work. Or I would go right into the same bar again because I had my free beer.
Marathon. That's cool. Yeah. So what was the transgression or the transition like between like now you're bartending, you kind of gave up on design, graphic design, media design. What made you like make the next move where you're like, you got into like kind of a party scene, a techno scene? What was the music like at that time?
A friend of mine, he was doing for techno parties backdrops,
like and theatrical looking.
Yeah. Okay. And because at this time, Germany, we're talking about 90s, early 90s, late 80s, After the wall came down in the east of Berlin, all the industrial real estate became available and nobody knew who owns what. So people just would take over stuff. So I got involved because of a friend of mine. He asked me to help him doing a backdrop for a party, And the parties, the techno parties at this time was very competitive. Let's say you had like 300 people in a club, but you would have 100 clubs, Oh, wow. So what they been doing, the event guys, they would give any party a theme. Every party had for example, they would have a Gothic backdrop, a castle, whatever, So you have 1 week to make the club looking like a castle, And the next week, you do the same thing again, but in a complete opposite, like spaceship.
Oh, that's great.
And it was lots of work. But what happened, and in the meantime, all the material used was trashed.
Oh, so every week, mostly?
Mostly
Or-
every week, yeah.
So there's a lot of, did the artist in you kind of eyeball some of that stuff? Like, just wasting, or it was your job, tear it down, build it, and then tear it down, toss it?
As long as you get paid for it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, was there ever an inspiration to, okay, maybe we can save half of this thing, and you end up with these kind of weird crossover themes?
No, but
Like Space Castle or something?
No, something. The opposite was happened. For me, it was very inspirational because it wasn't just my idea. It was in the beginning. It wasn't my idea at all. It was somebody else's. But then I was more and more asked for come up with an own idea, and soon enough, I was like one of the person who could say, "Okay, I'm going to do this way and this way." But out of the entire thing, I got an idea and it took off in Berlin very fast, to create an event. It's called Wall, like the wall, Hall. Because it was an event, you take over a space for 2 months, a space like in a really, really...
like a rundown industrial...
No, the opposite. In a real
posh.
Luxury, posh environment. For example, here, and I've done wall halls here too. I would have a space in a prime space in Hollywood, or I would have a prime space in New York and in Soho, would take over the space for 2 months and create, basically publicly, people would come in, and I always would have one slogan on. It's like, contemporary art does not exist, and people would come, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, So the idea was, my belief still is, when you're an artist, your real art, your contemporary art is still in your head. That's the newest, Executing, as soon as you execute your art and you're finished with your art, becomes a product.
Old news.
Now you have to shop this around, you have to promote this to make, actually, you're living out of this,
Yeah, and the very act of that process is burning time and kind of distancing you from whatever made you come up with it.
Exactly. And then I wanted to do, I want to take this idea and visualize this to people. So I would work for 2 hours, for 2 months on one project, have the space, and would paint basically everywhere. Looks like a big mirror, but they're all small, tiny canvases, that you can sell as individual, And I would paint for 2 months and then invite different artists to be a guest. And then the night of the opening, I would destroy everything. In front of the people, just rip us apart.
Yes.
Just to visualize people, contemporary art. That's actually the contemporary art. It's not here, it's here. I haven't done this yet, but I have this already in my head. Now I'm burning to do this,
How was it accepted the first time? Because it's a new concept. I think.
It wasn't really shocking for people, but people were surprised, by what you do. Is he anger? And then does this guy need anger management? So they would ask me. But I had interesting artists who would support me by just being there and give their name to do it, And
who are some contemporary artists? Or I don't know if you want to name drop or anything. Were these just buddies?
The one you would know, it's David Hindenbusch.
Oh yeah,
I invited him once, and he was really great because
it's OG.
He's very outspoken.
Sure.
And you need somebody. I'm not introvert, but I'm not really extrovert. So I'm kind of in between.
Vert.
I need somebody who actually voice stuff,
Yeah.
And he speaks English, so it was easier for him. So in the beginning in Berlin, it was basically unnoticed because basically just a party in the very end, But then in New York and in LA, people took notice, and I was more able to get better spaces, better locations. Real estate people would come up to me and offer me spaces.
So what was the kind of time period? Then you jumped basically from Berlin to New York, probably with some stuff in between. What was your launch point when you get your feet on the ground and now you're in the biggest city in the world? Which at the time, it seems like that would maybe be the art capital of the world as well.
For me, in Berlin, I never got my feet on the ground because I was always partying too much. But I started doing stuff, Instead of just telling everybody I'm an artist and not doing anything, I started doing stuff, But to really get out of this, I told myself I have to leave Berlin. I knew too many people. They are too close to me and to my habits, and I'm not strong enough,
It's like a palatial prison.
Yeah. And then I went to New York. And the first time I went to New York was 1990. And I seen people in the streets selling art. So I met kind of a few artists. And so I went to New York more frequently and meet people. And then at one point, I made my mind up and it's like, no, I have to live here. I have to do this too,
That's great.
So I went to New York and...
How was your English back then?
How is it now?
All right, perfect. That's great.
Subtitles running, full script, half screen.
Well, I mean, sometimes it can work in your favor because people are, when you move somewhere new or if you're traveling and they hear a strong accent, they especially in the art world, they can be more kind or more opening because they know you're kind of fish out of water. So they'll kind of bring you in. Or they might be for somewhere else too, especially in New York.
In melting pot. In New York is pretty much everybody from somewhere else. So, and everybody I knew, actually, in fact, people who encouraged me or actually been my inspiration to move to New York were French people. They were French filmmakers,
And at the time when you saw these artists, so you're kind of getting your eyes for the first time. I mean, you've done several trips, but now you're like, all right, I'm coming in full head of steam. I'm going to post up, be in New York now. Were you drawn to the visual artists, the painters? Were they sculptors? Were they movie makers? Were they film? Or was it just a whole scene? Or you didn't know what?
I mean, before I moved to New York, it was the whole scene. But when I made my mind up and when I moved to New York, I tried to sell whatever I can sell in Germany to have some money.
Sure.
To move there. And so I had a little bit of money. So then the first drive was for me to meet all the visual artists because that's that's what I knew, I could make my living into money, So I was drawn to immediately. I was kind of I think I was too much in the face of everybody else who'd already done stuff what I want to do, selling in the street. Just want to know how are you going to do this, where do you get the permit from, and stuff like this.
Kind of kicking the door in a little bit.
Watching the people how they present themselves, But it's like I was living in a hotel in Chelsea, and I was forced to, because I have to pay my hotel bill, forced to make money immediately. So
did you do any bartending gigs? Because that's kind of what you do too.
Nothing. Just concern, because that's why when I left, I don't want to go back to party.
Okay. Yeah.
So I want to become an artist. So kind of.
So it was like a feast or famine, this all in.
Yeah.
Gonna make this art thing work, and I didn't
know anybody. I didn't know anybody. Nobody knew me, and then when you're in the street, people know you are fresh off the boat. They spot you immediately, and they try to.
What were some of the kind of scenes that, like, when you first started getting a foothold? It makes it, I guess, a little bit easier because like, I want to make art to eat. I want to make art to make rent. I want to make art to make my name. Once you got a little foothold or toehold, what were like some of the scenes in New York? Like, I don't know if Dumbo was there or Chelsea mentioned or Brooklyn at all, or like where were you bouncing around? Like, check out the real street artists.
Was always like, since the early 90s, there was always a place where the artists lived because it was very cheap. And it was a dump, basically. And I ended up being in Williamsburg. People start moving into Williamsburg from the village or from Soho, because it was became quite expensive. And but the concentration of art and the art dealing and anything, galleries, and it was more around Soho. Soho was the art mecca in the early 90s.
Yeah, who was there? Do you remember some of the big names? I mean, it's like close.
Alex Katz, Jacques Claude. I mean,
did you like their work, or did you just like admiring how hot they were at the time, or did you even have that aspiration? Sometimes you want to make work and be successful, but other times you just I want to be that guy. I want to be where they're at. You don't strike me as
that's what it was. I want to be that guy, you know. And and I had my art was far away from anything good, you know. I mean, when I look back and look at my stuff at this point, I managed to sell my art enough to make my living in the street, you know. And but being in the street, you have to repeatedly do stuff you can turn around quick, you know. So it reflects in your art, you know. It's like you're not really good.
Yeah, it's like a dime a dozen. Like, get it out there.
You repeatedly over time. You do the same kind of painting. You knew, okay, it was kind of red painting. This was shape on it, whatever. It's a most. What you gonna do? Paint a red painting, you know.
Yeah, reds.
And then it's just an example, you know. So I've been doing this for a while, and then I realized, no, I have to get an aesthetic, get away from this one, you know.
Yeah, a real voice.
Yeah.
Now, is this? I know you started a studio called East Coast Aliens. Is this near the beginning of your New York stay, or were you now already like a five-year vet?
Center.
Okay.
I was already there for 10 years or longer.
And on that curve, how did you go? Because I know a lot of that was you started making some videos. So when did it change from just making visual art, 2D art, painting and visual images, to then getting behind a camera again or taking pictures?
There was a Russian friend I had, Sasha Sasanov, great artist by himself. He's still alive.
Shout out to Sasha.
Yeah. And so he had a camera. And for some reason, and it became my hobby, I used his camera, you know, to do small skits, you know, nothing to take serious, you know. For example, it was raining outside. That's why I became known for a little bit. It was raining outside a lot. And the weekend was destroyed because on a weekend we would go out and make business in the street. So it wasn't there. The weekend was gone. And then and everybody was saying, fucking rain, you know. So I made a sign that said, fucking rain.
Yes.
So I would film myself. I borrowed the camera. I would film myself standing in the rain in a very good suit, very well dressed.
Yeah.
Holding a sign up, fucking rain. And while it rained, the paint would just dissolve, you know, would float away. It was a 1 minute skit. And the same, I've done lots of shots about fucking wind, fucking heat.
Fucking heat, I remember fucking heat.
Army, you know, it's like I made so many.
Fucking traffic.
I made 99 or more small movies no one would take serious, but it wasn't, I didn't want to show them really, you know. I just because it was my hobby. And then I told myself, some people told me, you should enter a film festival or whatever. No, because when you become competitive, then you lose the fun.
And you're having more fun making it than versus watching it or pitching it afterwards.
And it was great. I mean, my neighborhood was the artist mecca in New York at this time. And you have so many people available living just within 2 blocks. You know, I always had enough people. I just had beer, wine, that's about it, some snacks. And I had a set full of people who would help me.
Yeah.
With cameras, lights, anything, you know, or acting, you know.
That's great.
So it became a kind of, for me, it's a way how I relaxed.
Now, Eric here is, out of the two of us, definitely more technical, responsible for a lot of our setup. Tell Eric what kind of, what were you working with? What was the hardware there? What kind of camera, stuff like that?
Any camera I would get in my hands on, you know.
Oh, okay.
Which I imagine was kind of tough in that compared to now. in that era, right? Where, I mean, anybody can get a high-quality HD camera. This was like mid-90s, you're saying?
No, it was late 90s. 98, 99, I started doing this. There was no CyberShot camera at this time. It was nothing like digital. It was just like basically Super 8, High 8 cameras you would have. I would VHS. I would have a VHS camera, whatever I could.
With the full tape in there?
The full tape.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I have so many tapes not even looked at, in the storage because I don't have a VHS tape thing no more and no TV. So I have to get this stuff and then.
Do you still have those in an archive somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah. So any of our audience members out there have a old school VHS player, hit us up in the comments. Yeah. Maybe we can do a viewing party with some of this stuff.
Actually, I got one about 50 feet that way.
Oh, okay, there you go. Well, that was
Super 8 camera.
That was quick. Thanks, audience.
I need a Super 8 camera, and I bought an old Sony DV mini DV.
Yeah, I got one of those
just
too.
Like to re-import my stuff because I still have unfinished business.
And then what tower were you working with, or like was it all PC stuff, or were you already into the Mac world? Like I'm curious of the editing suites you were using. Like
editing in the beginning, it was a VHS. I had a friend who worked in an agency. He had the Sony splicer, the VHS SVHS splicer. I would work on this one, but then Mac came out. I always had a Mac. The Performer 1. I had the Performer 1. And the Performer 2 came out. I had the Performer 2. So it's like I would have always upgraded myself. I was kind of
cutting edge.
Yeah, I liked Mac in the beginning. I still like Mac, but I hate Mac. Because of they're not. Since Steve Jobs died, it's just business. It's just like there's no.
They lost the soul.
Yeah, there's nothing really comes out. So anyway, and then iMovie. And then later on, would work on Adobe Premiere. That's what I'm still working on.
So as you're now you're making these skits, it sounds like you're starting to meet new friends, artist friends, people to help you with your skits that are for fun, but at the same time that get you in the scene and get you a broader spectrum of art and art people and art homies. Is that how you then transition to, or I don't know if you had a partner or how you started East Coast Alien?
It was my partner. I had no money. I never had money.
Can you tell everybody?
I was known for I have no money, but I met.
Because sorry, Bert, but it's a pretty ridiculous term if we can't tell our audience. What was East Coast Alien?
I was going to say, that was my thing, is like, you're all saying, hey, tell me the story, Right. I'm like, what even is the inspiration for, this is clearly a significant thing we're about to get into, and I'm like, what instantiated wanting to do this?
My appearance in all of my movies, I was the East Coast Alien. My website was the eastcoastalien.com.
Still?
No.
Damn it.
I lost it at one point.
Jill, can you see if that's available and register that?
And it was always like East Coast Alien. So I had a friend who was French and he would hang out a lot. He was on the business side. He was very good in business, the opposite from me. We put one and one together. He started selling my paintings, helped me selling my paintings in the street. And then, and he helped me out many times financially. It's like, give me $200 here, there, to pay my rent or whatever.
Yeah, float you to the next sale.
Yeah, so sometimes in the winter, it was very long and you couldn't sell anything in the street. But we've been hanging out a lot, playing chess. I wasn't any good, but he was good. And but I like this one. I'm not a competitive player. Mm-hmm. I'm more like just fun, So I'm a good loser, So anyway, and then I've been always doing the movies. So we had in my studio. I always had a larger studio. I had going already. I have in our neighborhood at this time it was nothing, and I made a Wednesday screening in my studio of movies, of movies you wouldn't see in a normal theater, in a commercial theater. Cavasetti and whatever, he would show his movies, And he was a driving part in this. He would basically choose the movies. And then we thought, then after a while, it's like, since I've been producing movies and been shooting movies, then maybe we should open up a movie studio. So we done this one, and he made sure that we have the finances, and we got a huge studio. We had 35 square foot upstairs and 3,500 square foot downstairs.
It's a great studio.
And we turned the studio into a sound stage. With blue screen, green screen, also a movie theater, and we put us in, and it was a tough time, but also probably my most happy time. We had it opened up contacts to so many other people, But in 2008, when the stock market went down, we went down first.
No, so people were hiring you. You were doing your own artistic projects in there, a bit of both. Like other artists in the community were coming and using those resources. You were helping. Like what was?
So it was
maybe
more,
all the above.
It was more like a straightforward business. We would rent our soundstage.
Okay.
To production companies would come in. Smaller. We've been catering independent film. So we had the most famous production ever started in our studio was Adult Swim.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Yeah, it started in our studio the first time, and we were so close to get a contract with them because since they got the funding for the first season,
later guys,
to be our studio, chosen, but we weren't the first choice because of our landlord at this time decided to put another 2 stories onto the building. There was construction noise and whatever.
Oh yeah, so you can't be running a studio with that going on.
This ruined actually. This was the final nail to our failure. That we had rain-ins and we had lots of things to deal with, to actually to close the studio.
And then once it closed down, you're back on your own. It wasn't like well, let's do it again, bigger and better. Let's try harder. And you're just like, fuck it, we're over it.
It was difficult. It was also a payoff because when you have a studio like this, a studio operation, lots of responsibility behind, and it took away from my from my time to devote to the art. When I had the time to devote to my art, I would just hang out in a bar because I was so exhausted from things I was doing.
Yeah, your inspiration's kind of cashed out.
Was kind of in between, and then we just closed the doors, and then back to my normal life.
Yeah. Now, is this we're sitting behind one of your images here? Was this near when you started thinking about?
Wait. One thing.
It's your show, bro.
Back to your question, East Coast Aliens. So we took over the name for our website, East Coast Aliens. It was not singular, it was plural. East Coast Aliens, because my partner was French and I'm German, So the idea was we are living on the East Coast and we are the aliens.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what it is.
A common bond.
Yeah.
So for those of you just listening, we always have a guest piece of art that's behind our guest, and in this case, it's the doll art, the $100. It says Esenherz here. It says, see some cartoons. So what was why would you just dive into this? Because this is a pretty solid design here. It looks like a $100 bill.
Well, yeah, like you said, for the people that are on the stereo only, it's a very large scale print on fabric, it looks like, that you designed that at first glance looks like a C note, but it's a $100, and every little element of the bill has been changed. And, I'm looking at it, there's definitely comedy elements. It says Brooklyn, it's got your face in there for the president. Words have been changed, things have been added. But take us away with
tell
what
us
led up to this one and what it's all about.
In 2001, I walked across America. I pushed a 5x7 foot painting across America.
If you guys didn't hear that, he said he walked across America with a 5 foot by 7 foot painting.
Pushing it in front of me. So
pushing it like
and this is a painting you made.
Yeah, the plan was the story behind this one is I've been living in New York for a while, but I never seen anything of America. And I went anywhere, just like, because when you have money, you're busy. And when you have no money, you just don't have no money, just not busy. And so you can't go anywhere. So I was locked into New York for more than 10 years, 10 years, basically. Almost 10 years. So anyway, and then I had the idea, okay, I'm selling paintings in the street. Why don't I make a large painting, put it on wheels, push across America, and people gonna produce small paintings on my way, and people gonna buy my paintings, because I had lots of people buying paintings from coming into the city from anywhere in the U.S.
So instead of them coming to you, you're going to them,
right?
And you get to see.
And did you do anything? I mean, did you like call the newspaper in the next town and be like, "Hey, there's this guy rolling in with a painting"?
No,
like, did you drum up?
No.
Anything about it?
There was pre-social media, and. It was badly organized. There's no organization behind this. Anyways, it was like me having the idea. I've been pushing in New York for a while to promote myself. Blue elephant around, like in the same size, 5x7 foot.
A painting of a blue elephant.
Yeah. So and I would tell people was like, "Oh, blue elephant," it would stop you. And then I had small paintings on the side, And it was a good way to get in touch with get new customers.
So a little shock value, get their attention.
Yeah, and then also I was like, when people ask me, like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm taking my elephant for a walk, It's like, but anyway, this idea, then one day I had the idea, I've been crossing the bridge, and it was very tough because the wind came from the side and it pushed me over all the time. So I stopped until the wind dies down a bit, And then I had the idea, what I'm doing? I should take a painting walking across America, And then basically 2 months later, I've been doing this. There's no funding. I had $270 to my name. My landlord gave me a break in the rent. He was very supportive to my art anyway, all the time. There was a landlord had the name, it was not a corporation. It was a name behind. It was Joe,
Yeah. And your plan on how long this thing was going to take was roughly what?
But I had no idea about America. People told me, like, are you crazy? Are you stupid? You're going to get shot, It's like...
you can't even get out of New York or Jersey. Like, I'm curious to see what your first, 100 miles was like.
I mean, it's really tough to get over the bridges, I took the ferry first and then find the way through... getting over the bridges, but anyway.
Well, you're saying there's no social media, and there's also no Google Map. You probably didn't even have a cell phone. You just definitely have a smartphone.
I had a map, really just a real physical map.
Okay.
I want to go west. I mean, it's not easy. It's pretty easy here. I want to shoot west.
Like looking at Route 66. This will work.
Yeah, but the point was behind. I had no idea what I'm doing. Everybody told me, who is from America? You're crazy, you're going to get shot, going to meet all the crazy people, But anyway, but I also had no money. So I had $270, changes the story, like $290 or $260, I don't remember, but it wasn't much, And on my way, I was like always thinking, like, how I can make some money, how I can, I have to sell a painting, but people, soon I realized they've been looking at me. They've been looking at like a sports event. They thought like, oh, how many miles did you walk today? It was the first question, It wasn't about my miles. It was about, look at my art here and I have this one,
Yeah, you're doing like a poor man's Forrest Gump or something.
Yeah. And then I was, my girlfriend at this time, she was very supportive. She would put $5 or $10 into my bank account in a week, whatever she could spare, She had no money either, But one day I was sitting I had the luxury of drying up after rain in a motel. And I was getting that idea. looked at a $10 bill, and then it's like, and I start drawing this one, and I drew another one, and another one. Then I made photocopies. I made 4 different designs, photocopies of these. Then I had my doll arts. I named them doll arts. It was handmade, hand-drawn dollar bills. It looked like, not like dollar, but an idea of a dollar bill, you know.
While you're drinking that, I'm familiar with the doll arts because this doll art, for those of you still listening, the one that's on the wall is mine. I had to earn it, couldn't buy it. You had to help Bert do a project, and we'll get to that later.
Well, and this one's about 3 feet wide. We're not talking about a regular dollar bill
it's
here.
Probably 18 by 36, but you know, I had to earn that. But at the time when you're making your original doll arts, they seem hand drawn, and you're already walking across America, so you're like outside of New York already, or your first stop.
I exchanged my first dollars in Pennsylvania.
So you essentially made, you created art to create currency, which then people like honored by giving you either actual currency or food or something.
It's all about money.
Yeah.
It's all about money, because money is just like in value of some value you and I agree on.
Right.
And if you all agree on, you know, we can actually trade much easier. You know, that was the
perceived value.
It was perceived value. You know, so what I was doing, I made $10 and I offered these to $10. So the people would agree that's my $10. It's like the value of $10, and I promised people we exchange anytime.
Oh, okay.
They could approach me anytime, and I would buy them back. You know.
They just had to catch you in Indiana or Missouri or wherever.
But it was great. I mean, people were really. I mean, I have to say, across America, I did not meet anybody as crazy as people would tell me or warn me of.
And you didn't get shot.
I didn't get shot at all. Actually, one time almost, but it was kind of misunderstanding, you know.
Of course.
And just one little story out of this. So when you walk, pushing a painting in front of you across America, people first think you're promoting something. What's your cause, you know? It's like, are you religious, you know? You're like, and then I had a painting of the Brooklyn cityscape, you know. And the first people, they're not coming up to you at all, you know. They try to stay away from you because you're crazy. The first person who comes up to you is a state trooper. He want to check you out. What are you up to, you know? And then the next person who comes up to you is the sheriff, the local sheriff, if you happen to walk into a small town. Anyway.
Where you going, boy?
Yeah. So they check you out, and then it's everything cleared. They would call the local press. And that's people, and then they would make an interview with you. I would have an interview with some newspaper guy, and they would have the article next day in a newspaper. And the next day...
But by that time, you moved on.
And right? yeah, that's how I moved on.
Real slow.
But yeah, it's a slow...
What was your clip, real quick? Like, I know you weren't doing it for miles per day, but like at this time, you know, you got a little momentum and you got doll arts and people were causing a little bit of a scene. What were you doing? Like, I don't know, 10 miles a day, 15 miles a day?
It's like of course, in the beginning I was very slow. I wasn't really, you know, I need to get my physical back, you know. And then plus I started out in New Jersey, but then in Pennsylvania it's very steep hills, you know, and then you don't go on a highway, you know. You walk all the back roads, you know, who going over the hill like this, you know. It was quite a challenge, and they're averaged like about 8 to 10 miles in Pennsylvania. But the average later on, it was like about 22 miles. And the maximum I walked was 53 miles.
Wow.
And I was really done, you know. And I had a 3-day rest. But anyway, the one story, it's like coming back to being shot.
Almost.
There was a state trooper in Iowa who always came up to me, and then because I've been walking against the traffic because I want to see the traffic coming up, especially when you have a truck coming. because the truck, the wind, and my painting's like a sail, So I needed to know, and then I would stop and I would hold my painting like this, all layers down even, It's like to just don't have it spilling over into the street, into the road. So anyway, but in Iowa, the shoulder, I'm always walking on the shoulder. In Iowa, the shoulder where I walked, it was always gravel. So I was walking on the road, So the state trooper, he came and then he told me, like, you have to get off the road on the shoulder. But he had small wheels, like this size.
Were they pneumatic or rubber? Or?
Rubber wheels, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The asphalt, it's eating you.
It chews them up.
It chews them up, very quick.
Especially 50 miles a day.
So anyway, he told me, no, I have to leave, It's like, and then, okay, I looked at him. I stayed off, went to the gravel, and I tried to push a little bit. I waited until he was out of sight, back on the street, go up on the road, Then he came back, and then it's like, I don't know how many times he told me, and he got really had it, It's like, boy, you have to leave here. You see up there, you see the county line road. From now on, you're going to walk on the county line road. I don't want to see you no more. I'm going to arrest you. Okay, he kind of scared me. So I'm county line road, which just goes like in a square, And then I'm walking there for a while, and it's walking west. And then I see a farmhouse far away, And and then it's like, okay, when you see some farmhouse or whatever, I was always about to get water, So I was looking forward to get closer and then ask them if I could some water. I had water jugs with me, gallon jugs, and to refill these. And I see a dog coming towards me. And
a dog.
A dog. And this dog was mean. I met many dogs on my way, but this dog he meant business, So I had pepper spray with me. So I took the pepper spray and I sprayed him. He was jumping at me. And I sprayed him and he fell over. He was crying and whatever,
Oh, you got him?
Yeah, I got him. And actually, he was good for any animal lovers, he was fine, But at this point, he was out. So the farmer was watching me from far away, and he sees his dog going down, Now he gets scared, what's going on. So he came, this is a Jeep. He came, drove over towards me. He was about probably 75, 80 years old, and he had a shotgun.
Oh,
and he was shaking. He was standing in front of me. He was shaking. It's like that's it. I'm gonna be shot now here,
Damn.
And luckily, he called the cops before. So I heard the cops, like the sirens.
Oh, so he probably called them at the farmhouse. There's
Yeah.
crazy
Somebody
fucker out here spraying my dog with mace.
Yeah, he called probably much earlier,
It's probably his brother.
So it turns out,
Cletus, you better get down here.
It turns out I was on his private property. He never had a stranger walking anywhere. He never had a stranger walking, And then, especially not on his private, and he never seen anybody taking out his dog.
Sure.
So he was scared, and then luckily it's happened and cleared up.
That wasn't that same state trooper, was it?
No.
You'd have been arrested for sure.
Oh yeah. No, son, you have another thing going. No, and then it cleared up very, very easily. He was a nice guy, he was just afraid of me, and I was afraid of him. It was a misunderstanding.
Yeah,
sure. That's a good eye opener, though. So your walk across America birthed the idea of the Dollards, and then once you had that idea, first of all, did you have a plan? Like once you got finished with the walk, how did the
where'd you make it to?
Did it fizzle out?
The point is just like it was tragic. Yeah. I've been walking in 2001. It wasn't tragic for me, but for everybody else. Anyhow, in 2001. I was out of money basically all the way. I made always like my $10 got me a little bit, but by this time I reached Denver, I needed a complete overhaul. I needed new shoes. I had holes in my shoes. And then the gravel was poking through. It was very painful. I needed actually new clothes. I needed a new sleeping bag. I needed a new tent. I was pretty down to new. I had no money. So I've been setting up in Denver in front I was setting up in Denver in front of a Starbucks and tried to sell one of my dollars, But people just like, when you're not walking and then people think like I'm just a bum, in the street, Nobody would pay attention.
Well, with your clothing and everything in the condition that it was.
Yeah. I had my painting with me, but everybody could have a painting. It's just
I say that's the only difference between you and an actual bum is a possession of this 5-foot painting.
Yeah, but it's like, it's like people would not pay attention, not enough. And then luckily I was in a hostel he was a German guy. He owned a hostel. And he was very supportive. He told me, it's like, why don't you go back to New York and sell a painting? Because I told him about first of all, I could stay for free at his place. It was very helpful. Along the entire way, I had just like...
You found that people were kind.
People totally supportive. They once met you, and they're all across America, everywhere.
So that's like what you really were looking for as far as seeing America. You got to see real people. And
I heard the story. I've been listening to the stories, the amazing stories. I don't even know my story, my backstory, because in Germany people would not tell you. Didn't talk about history very much because there are two obstacles in between.
Yeah.
The First and the Second World War, But here people just know their whatever roots are and how they got here, and it's just like freely, and I learned a lot.
That's great.
And I knew, and I start to appreciate people who are living in flyover country, just like in Iowa, and I start understanding why are these people not moving to New York? It's fun, It's like, no, they're staying in Iowa because it's a family, it's a tradition, and it's also survival, That's what they know, what they're doing, And I do understand I have more understanding about gun laws, and the Second Amendment, because I met these people who actually have the guns, and
the right to bear arms.
But it's just like, of course, now it's just like, why do we need whatever,
Sure.
And anyway, so I met enormous support across America. I had not one bad experience at all.
Let's go, America. We still got it. Or at least we had it.
I think it's in there.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of the... I think the negative stories you hear and the stories that are... I'm glad you used the word. You said, we were both afraid of each other when you met the dog guy. I think there's so much out there that is arising out of fear, and that, unfortunately, are the stories that get told a lot, and that has a lot to do with our whole media atmosphere now, and that's a whole other thing. But
not here, not
when you podcast. When you really talk to folks, as you have really extensively, a literal cross section, you find that that's not the case. That it is this internal confidence and like a joie de vivre, if you will. I could come up with terms like that all day. That's what is there 99 times out of 100 or more.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Oh, it's good you got to. That was your first deep dive across America.
It was my first time I'm in America. New York is not considered America.
Yeah.
Like, what you've done is more than I would say a lot of Americans have done. Yeah. That were born here. It's impressive.
Anyway, back in Denver, I decided to follow the advice of the hostel owner, and going back to New York. It was late August. Going back to New York to sell a painting, and then come back because that's what I knew. Painting in Soho, setting up and sell a painting, and go back to Denver and continue my trip. So I left my painting in Denver. I sold my camera, my Sony camera. It was $600 at this time. for a power shot 2.0.
In today's money, that's like 601.
Yeah. So anyway, I sold this in a pawn shop for $170, which I needed. I need $135 for a Greyhound ticket. So I took a Greyhound back to New York and went back in the street instantly and sold the painting. I sold actually a bunch of paintings at this time.
I'm curious now too, Bert. I found this by traveling myself quite a bit. When you step away from your scene, then you come back with this very visceral experience, especially for you because you hadn't been across America. So, like, did you find that momentum? Like, you're back, it's fresh. You have a new, like
I had no energy because I had a goal. You know, it's like it's more energy to sell and more. I was more determined to sell and motivated. You know, because I knew where I want to go back to. You know, I want to leave the city again as soon as possible and just like go back.
I can kind of hear the timeline coming up.
Yeah, and then of course everybody knows about September 11th happened.
So that was in between when you went home to recuperate, stack your cash, and you're doing that, and then you have this goal in mind to go maybe back to Denver and start.
I had the plane ticket already going back to Denver.
So your plan was to start right back where you stopped at the German guy's hostel.
Yeah, and
then make it to California. But in the meantime, 9/11 happened.
I mean, my goal was just like I have to get to the mountain before the snow comes. Oh, okay. You know, it was my goal and and then I want to stop somewhere and
figure
out, you know, how to go, you know. But
that's the Oregon Trail style, dude. He was trying to beat the pass.
Yeah. So, but September 11th happened, and my girlfriend at this time, she was working right next to it, you know, and it was like I called her boss, and then because nobody knew what's going on for at least 3-4 hours. Nobody knew, you know.
Yes.
People was like confusing.
Chaos and dust.
Kind of, you're in a movie or you're not, you know. And what happened? A small airplane hit, you know, it's like a Cessna or whatever, you know. But as soon as the first tower collapsed, then people realized, you know, and it was so heavy. I mean, you have all the F-16 fighters, whatever, going up and down East River and the Hudson River, and it felt like you were in war, you know.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get a hold of Yuko at this time. And so I walked across the bridge against the stream of people who actually left Manhattan, because by this time all subways have been shut down. So people left Manhattan over the bridges.
It's got to be such a weird sight.
I guess against the stream because I was determined I have to pick her up, you know. And it was, of course, stupid, you know. I mean, how can you expect that she still is at work, you know?
Right.
You know, it's kind of, she went in the meantime already home, you know, and she was fine, you know, but then, and there was no phone, you know, so I walked first downtown to pick her up. There was nobody, everything was closed, and there was all the rubble and the dust, and then I went uptown where she lived, and then I picked her up and we walked around over the Queensboro Bridge back home, and then after we get home, it's like it was already 10 o'clock at night. Then it starts settling, you know, so setting in, you know, what happened here, you know. It's kind of, and then our landlord at this time, I've been living in a factory. I've always lived in my entire life in industrial places where I'm not supposed to live, and but I managed to live and work, and because I need space, you know, so it's cheaper for me. So anyway, my landlord at this time, he was a very great guy. He asked us to go downtown and to volunteer for anything. It was just like he went down and he actually was digging in the dust. And I can't do this. I can dig in the dust and look for body parts, you know. That's what most people have done at this point, you know. And instead I went down to West Village and then donated blood, you know. Then because you felt like you have to do something. It's like entire New York, the New Yorker spirit was poof.
Yeah, well, donating blood is probably the best thing you can do. That's pretty vital. I mean, quite literally.
Yeah, but then New York was shut down for, especially Soho. We couldn't do any business for 3 or 4 months.
So that threw, not to brush under the rug the whole tragedy of 9/11. Here's a shot to our fallen compatriots, fellow Americans. But so that did it snap your dream of going back to Denver? Like you just like fuck it
Instantly.
This is not. Yeah, I mean,
because
I
met the people across America, and I knew my goal. Basically, it's just a promotion for yourself. Right. It's so silly. Everybody has something else in his mind. Just like it's like we've been actually short after Bush was in power. Talking about war going into Afghanistan, and then Iraq already starts going. It's just like everybody was in a different state of mind.
So that tragedy pretty much stopped that dream right there.
Just right there.
It's over.
It's like an instant, not even a second thought. And then I thought about this, and I went back to Denver to pick up my painting, and that's it. And I had. I promised myself, okay, next year, I'm going to go back to Denver and do this, take off where I left,
Yeah, start over.
Yeah. And, but now it has been, how many years? 23 years.
Yeah, well, we still got time. You never know. Maybe there could be a couple of us. I can push you and a painting.
Yeah.
Or pull. This time I think maybe pull the painting instead of pushing.
No, you have to pull me and push the painting.
Well, with that, we're gonna take a quick break.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and share some more stories. And we're back. We had a quick, brief little intermission, and we're back. I wanted to bring the audience up full speed. Bert, we met. I don't even know. It might have been 2010 or 11. When I first came to...
2009.
09. Yeah, 09. With a mutual friend in this place, at the time it was called World Gallery. And, I had my friend Brett was here too. And we had met already a lot of artists at that point. But then our friend was like, you got to meet Bert. I said, all right. And then I remember he walked us right. It was in the driveway. And then... he's got you by one arm and me by the other, and it's Jesse. Here's Bert. Bert, here's Jesse. We just look at each other like, fuck off. Who's this guy and why do I care or whatever? But I had heard some about you before, but I just knew immediately that you were serious. But what I didn't know was how much fun you like to have. And that's what really piqued me and Brett's interest when you started talking about we have to do a performance. We have to give some people shake it up. Costa Mesa at the time, Westside was it was coming up, but nothing like it is now. It was dead of...
Well, it was much more industrial, this street.
Yeah, it was just...
They didn't have all these condos and stuff here at all.
It wasn't a scene, but, World Gallery was here, and we had a little storefront, nice gallery scene, but there was no action. And Bert brought the funk, like, straight from New York. Like, he was like, no, we got to do something to mix it up. And we did one of your performances was... the East Coast aliens invade Orange County. And that's when I get to help you. And that's when I really was like, all right, I love Bert. Bert's got big brass ones that we're going to shake it up. We're going to go out there. We're going to do some wild shit. We're going to film it. And it's just going to be funny. And also, too, there was no social media. So we weren't, it might have been Facebook, I guess. But we were doing it like to your initial statement. It was contagious that you just had this fun idea. And we were doing it for fun. So we didn't think like, oh, we're going to sell this and be like, some kind of sensation, or some viral stuff. It was just like, we're just going to go. I just love the notion of really messing with these people that weren't ready for this performance. But before we talk about the aliens, talk about what you did with the doll arts and some of your performances in New York, like with the stock exchange.
Already funded my trip across America. It's my doll arts, my hand-drawn money. Yeah, doll arts. Yeah. So anyway, the basic idea was already there. And also in certain exhibits or performances I came out with stocks. I had the initial stock offering of $5 stocks.
Like an IPO.
Hand-drawn, $5 with a fingerprint on it, you know. And I would always sell some in openings, you know. I had sometimes a stock exchange booth at the opening, you know. And so I made a little bit, when you don't sell a painting, at least you had your 10 or 15 bucks or 20 bucks in your pocket, you know, to go home, you know. So the main idea, money was already there. And when 2008, the stock market went down, and it was in the news everywhere, of course, and many people lost money, really big money. I thought, like, I have to contribute somehow, you know. So I went quick by to design a dollar bill. And so I made the dollar bill and then made it like really big because I planned already a performance. I want to do a performance in Wall Street, and they have to be big dollar bills, you know, to make us visual, you know.
So technically, just for the people listening, we're talking about a silk screen on canvas.
Yeah, on canvas.
Probably 18 by 36.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So anyway, the main idea behind is the stock market crash. But what really crashed? What is it? I mean, what is it? It's just a number in somebody's computer screen. It's nothing else. My main idea is I go down to Wall Street and offer people real money because I put sweat behind. It's a real product. It's not the number on the screen. This is right. You have this in your hand, you know, and this is the value behind. And I decided it's $100 worth of a piece of artwork. You know? So I've been standing in front of the stock exchange at 4 o'clock after the bell rang, waiting for people coming out. And then I was offering, and so I would always say, like, sir, I mean, I was dressed up. I looked just like blending in the crowd. I was like, looked like a stockbroker.
Yeah, any stiff in a black suit.
Yeah. So, and no hat on, and fresh haircut. And I had my $100 bills over my arm, and I would wait for people coming out, and whoever came out, and I would say, sir, do you want some money? Sir, do you want some money? And then people, of course, you are silly, you know. It's like, but it picked up very fast. I mean, within a minute or two, I had television crews around me because they've always been in Wall Street. They're always waiting for news, especially at this time because the stock market went down, you know. So I had already a pretty good momentum going. And then, but I wasn't prepared to have a statement. I mean, it was very hard for me to come up with a statement. It's like an instant, like 10 seconds, you get the message across.
Yeah, freestyle.
Yeah, and I couldn't do this. It's like kind of, you know, stuttering around what you want to do, you know, and I was so bummed about this. But any performance I've done prior to this, teach me one lesson. You have a 10 minutes loophole. If you do a thing like this, and in 10 minutes, you get something done, and then you just have to disappear.
So the window of time for the shock value is about 10 minutes. You're going to cause a stir. People are going to get a bit of a commotion, and then you get a dip.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm gathering from this, just to like elucidate it a little bit more for the viewers, is it's like you're showing up. It's a normal day. You show up, and something's going. You create something out of nothing, and then folks start to gather. It starts to coalesce energy around it. You know, like a galaxy pulling in extra mass or something, right? And then there's some point, and usually it's about 10 minutes. You're saying in where it starts to take on this energy of its own, and you're no longer at the center, like fueling it. It's its own sort of chaos that's out of your hands, and at that point, that's when you just slip out, just ninja slip right out of there. And the thing is like self-sustaining now.
The point is just like when you do some performance, when you do them for too long, it becomes silly. It's silly, and people get it. It's just like since I wasn't prepared for a really good statement, you know, and I had the chance to. I had NBC right in front of me and holding the microphone right into my throat, you know. It's like, say something, you know. was just like stumbling around some shit, In the evening news, I saw myself and I was like, oh God, I'm embarrassing, I'm embarrassed, I wasn't prepared for this one,
Yeah, you had almost too much success.
Every performance is also, when people realize you are kind of a con, then they want to get something else out of you. They want to arrest you. Security service, especially there in Wall Street, they are moving in, and then you just don't want to spend an hour or 2 hours on a prison to clarify.
Yeah, it was a joke. Or
I didn't have a bomb in my pocket. No. It wasn't me with a gun. No, I just had the money. Yeah. I didn't try to sell it. I just gave it away,
So, yeah, because having to go through all that would bring it back to neutral. Whereas if you get to slip out, it's like exit on top.
Yeah, you're gone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, less is more.
The question mark,
Bert gave me and Brett the same kind of speech about the window of time. We're going to do this, and his idea was that the East Coast aliens invade Orange County, and so we had this plan or Bert had the plan. We were just like wide-eyed, and like I think I was going to do video, and Brett was doing still pictures, and we're going to have these aliens, which were made by our friend T. Very cool costumes. And I thought at the time, like, oh, it's just going to be like something you buy at the store. But like, this is a full head-to-toe costume. These aliens had these big beach ball heads, and it was all white. And this is a very good aesthetic. And we went to several places. And the cool part was Bert had told us, we're going to go in, we're going to cause a scene. We're going to kind of, we're not breaking anything. There's nothing. You just, especially in Orange County, it's very easy to, people are like, what? Like, you walk to the left or like whatever. Like, you can do anything. Oh my God, you parked backwards. So it was very easy to stand out. But with all these warnings and all that stuff, we still had to giddy, like kind of like gonzo, like, all right, we're doing it. And I can't remember where the first one was. It was either the beach or the mall. And I know one time at the beach, it was funny.
The beach was the first one.
Yeah, and we're walking with the beach, and we got the camera, and Bert was the director. I don't know if he was one of the bits, so he was the alien, and then he was like the alien in disguise. It looked human, and then the actual aliens were head to toe white with these big beach ball heads. And we didn't get 5 feet onto the beach. We're filming. Some of the guys, like Bert said, like people think they don't know what to think. You're a joke, you're a gimmick, or is it a college performance or something? And some guy ran. I think he tackled one of the aliens, and it was just like, and then it was our eye opening, like, oh, like anything can happen. So then we kind of got the footage or got the shot, and then we got out of there. But then the second time we go to the mall at like one of the contemporary like outdoor malls, pretty fun thing. And we walk through, and same thing, like people. They get upset just because they don't know, they're not in on the joke, and which makes it funnier, you know. And
that is the joke.
Yeah. and then lastly, we did even a bigger mall, and then it was just picture perfect. And we have some of those stills, and we'll put a link to like some of the still shots. But it gave me a new level of admiration, or maybe even just my original level of admiration, because I knew you from here and those stunts, which film and performance wasn't really my background. I mean, I've done some public speaking and stuff like that, but it always had to do with like some very serious nature or art, or you've risen to a position where you're supposed to be there doing it. But this reminded me of like some chaos. Like I was like a fun brand, and it was no harm, no foul. We're just kind of artists, but instead of like people coming to the gallery and viewing, this is how you look at art, and here's the name tag. This was just like, here's a bunch of cool shit right in your face where you're not ready for it, and we got you. And it was fun, and it was great, and it made me like think outside the box, even approaching my visual aesthetic, just because like you appreciate how little it takes to shake people up sometimes, and really get them going. Another event you did here was the East Coast Alien Verse, and this is when like after the aliens, because there wasn't too many of us, we hadn't built our momentum yet here, so we're kind of me, Brett, a few of us other artists are just trying to get to know each other and wrap our head around like, who's Bert, and like, Bert's doing these cool stunts, and then he goes, all right, now we want to do one. Now that we steered up the masses in Orange County, we know how to do that. We're going to get them here. So that was like a good hook to get them to come to the gallery, and Bert cooks up the story, the East Coast Alien versus the West Coast Dummy. And this is like a boxing match. So Bert, tell them about your idea for the boxing match.
the boxing match was
ties into your wrestling history, right?
Yeah. No, but the idea came out of the head. You know, I have to do something, and I went to one of the stores and I saw boxing gloves. I thought it would be a fun story, you know, when I built up a real boxing ring in a gallery. Nobody would expect this one, you know, and start a fight, you know, like have a challenge, you know. And the only thing I could think of, because I didn't want to get hurt, was a dummy. So I gonna have a world championship, and it was a final against a dummy. And I built a dummy, and it was all on springs. It would, when you punch it would come back, you know. It's like, and then
for a visual, the gallery at the time was smaller. It's up where the green room is now, and Bert almost insisted that it's not a big space and the ceiling's not that high.
Yeah,
the ring was, I think, 8 by 8.
8 by 8. Yeah.
But we put it to where you just barely walk in the door and there's a boxing ring, and so people were coming to the art show. And the first 5 feet in the door, there was like boxing ring. Like,
that just dominates the room.
What? Yeah, you had to like, excuse me, pardon me, no art on the walls. Also, it was awesome.
So in all my performances, my main appearance was always I'm dressed in a suit, a tie, and a hat. You know. So and then there's also the idea behind I'm the opponent, you know, and then in this match. And I come in the suit and a tie, and then I made a bunch of money and my dollars, just photocopies.
Bert comes in and he made it rain before like Pac-Man Jones. Like Bert comes in and we all had these bits, and there's only like 4 of us that are in on this, and there's a whole full gallery full of art shows, and people had to take bets before they could get in the door. Like, who you got? And we had a ticket booth, like, or you get a bet on the dummy and the 5 or whatever it was, like, and
they don't know what this really means.
They're completely caught off guard. And there's a lot of friends from, like, we had a nice cross gathering. Like, I was still doing personal training, so I had a lot of people coming from Corona Del Mar, and they're coming to see art. And, you know, there's only a few of us just on the joke. So we had a referee, we had a ring announcer. I was a ring announcer. Bert was the East Coast alien, and he had if you remember Randy Macho Man Savage.
Oh, for sure.
He had a counterpart like that too. Was his ring girl, not the ring girl, but like his manager, and we had pre-painted Bert's chest. This was his idea. It was great. So we made his whole chest exact copy of his suit that he wore on with body paint. So then when we announced, in this corner, an East Coast alien, and in this corner, the West Coast dummy, and then the referee's like, you can't have the suit on, and then Bert makes it rain, there's $100 bills, there's dollars everywhere, and people are screaming. Like, we really caused a stir. It's pretty fun. This is all before the first bell rings, and people are thinking, they're thinking now, like, he's going to, like, he's like, all right, I'll take it. He has the perfect attitude. All right, I'll take my suit off. And they come into me and the referee, we're like, hey, calm down, you know, and like, so he goes, all right, reluctantly takes down the tie and takes off the shirt, and then he takes it all off, and it's the same thing. But with the actual boxing shorts, it was awesome. And then Bert made business, you know, he starts getting a character, and he's like doing the moves, you know, and he's got combinations, and he's trying to attack the dummy before the bell. We got to hold him back. And we did 5 rounds, you know, and it was great.
And I lost.
And the thing that nobody bet on was the dummy taking Bert out in the 5th.
Sure.
The championship.
Of course they would.
The deep water. And it was beautiful, too. Bert threw it right across. He missed. The dummy came back out, and it was all she wrote. It's great. This is definitely all on camera, so it's pretty funny that it happened. But that was just a fun experience. It was good for everybody there. Like, I think even the audience, like, people that I know that still come to some art shows here, they weren't ready for that performance. They weren't ready for any performance. And because of that, it made a hook. Like, oh, this place is definitely different than...
Yeah, this is more than paintings on a wall.
You're not going to see it in whatever, downtown Santa Ana or Laguna or something. This was like cutting edge, like really fun stuff. And it made me friends of Bert since then, and just a true mentor, like leading by example, like, hey, let's have some fun. And, you know, we're trying to sell art, of course, but the performance was so... vitriol that people were like, they had no choice but to be hooked. Like, after that, when's your next, how do I sign up for the email?
Yeah.
When's the next anything here? I'm coming back. So it was a good time. It's great. Yeah. And then we still have the ring too. I don't know if you know that, Bert, but It was the West Coast Boxing Championships of Orange County World Title, some ridiculous acronym. It was like an 8-foot acronym. That was good stuff.
Yeah.
While you were here, Bert, I had another story too. One time, so my studio used to be upstairs, and I'm painting, and we had all got along. We've already done some of these performances and stuff, and I hear this real faint, Jesse. I said, man, it sounds like Bert, like almost like a distress. And I look out the window, and he's on the ground, and I'm like, oh shit! And so I run downstairs, and I'm like gangbusters. And I look over, he looks fine, like he's not. I don't see any bones sticking out or anything, but he's in obvious agony. And he's like, oh, my foot. And we look down, and he must have fell off a ladder or something. And there was like a 3-inch gold wood screw in his heel. And it had to be in there pretty good. Bert had to get the brilliant idea that, just get the screw gun. Try to use it. And I'm like, this is like some like wartime shit where I'm like, well, I guess this is how you save your buddy from like pull him off the tracks before the train comes. Like, whatever. I'm like, if you want, I wasn't opposed to it, but I almost didn't think it was going to work. I don't know. So I'm like holding his foot, and I'm like, this is definitely going to hurt. And I touch the thing on there. I'm like, all right, take a deep breath. And I give the screw gun a reverse, and he yells. I'm like, all right, we're not doing this anymore. We're done. And I call Brett, and Brett's actually got a real job at the time. And I said, hey, man, we don't have a car. I'm like, Bert's hurt. I know we can't afford an ambulance. There's a whatever, first care, what do they call them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got a hospital a mile down the road.
Yeah, we didn't want to go to Hogue. Whatever the ones, the cheaper ones.
Yeah, urgent care.
Urgent care, yeah. So I know we can go to urgent care, and we just got to go. Because I just got to, he's like, well, I'm working. I'm like, Bert has a 3-inch wood screw, a 1/2 inch into his heel bone. Come help us. And Brett's like, I'll be there right away. So he comes, we load him in the back seat, we drive over there, and we're all thinking, like, how are we even going to pay for this? And like, oh, is Bert okay? Like, hopefully they didn't get gangrene or whatever. I don't know what they have. Like, when you have tetanus, when's your last tetanus shot? Like, who knows? And so we're getting him out of the car at the urgent care in the parking lot. It's right there. The door's right there. And we get him out of the car, and all of a sudden he goes, and he starts yelling all over again. And we're so concerned because we're like, fuck, did I hit his foot on the way out of the door? Like, what's going on? We're looking at his foot and his knees and stuff, and we didn't realize that the door had swung in and his thumb was pinched. Oh. And if you're just listening, his thumb looked exactly like a cartoon thumb. It was gigantic thumb pinching the door. I'm like, he's yelling, And so we pull him out of there, and we're like, the poor guy. He's got a 3-inch wood screw in his heel, and his thumb is as big as like a cartoon thumb. And we just put him in the chair, and we're like, he needs it all, dude. Like, give him the works. So he came out of there high as a kite, like, ooh, and then we got him fixed up, and that was just one of our many adventures since I've known you, and it's been a real pleasure this whole time. I've learned a lot from you, so I'd say thanks to that, Bert. I appreciate it.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here.
Yeah, I think a lot of the younger artists could learn lessons from transferring from one location to another and bringing a little bit of what you learned there to the new spot, and then maybe even you don't know how it's going to turn out, and then here we are 15 years later on a podcast that podcast didn't exist when we met, so that's kind of cool too.
Well, for everybody's edification, we've got videos of some of what we talked about. I actually haven't seen all of them. Jesse showed me the Wall Street one last night. But yeah, guys, we're going to have links in here where you can see all of this stuff, because it's one thing to talk about it. But when I saw that video, it's there in living Technicolor. I mean, this shit is so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool, man.
Very much, very much. Bert, so now we're kind of caught up to real time. You've been back and forth to New York a couple times. You've had a great deal of success in LA. You've actually helped me and a couple of our other art friends like kind of go check out the Beverly Hills scene, the Hollywood scene, downtown LA. I mean, we got to spend multiple weekends on the street in the artist district in downtown LA trying to sell art, wall haul, if you will, and very unsuccessfully at times. But we always had sushi. We always had fun. But I just appreciated that, like, hey, we're artists. We're here to sell art, and people in the art district walk right by you, like we're selling, plywood or something. Like, no, this is like an original piece of art right here. And people are like, oh, across the street.
Yeah, so what are you in this part of town for?
Yeah, to avoid the art. But all that being said, you've come back here now. You're in the West Coast. You're in LA. What do you draw inspiration from now? Like, what's current? Like, I've seen some of your recent, like you did a LA art show last year, 2023.
Yeah.
And you made some massive, like the elephant painting and the gorilla painting, really cool stuff. And we'll link some images to the comments if you guys can check it out in the description. But so the LA art show was last year. Now, what do you have like real time right now, current? Like, what do you?
Right now, I'm. Right now, I'm going back 100 years ago. 20 years ago. I'm coming back to, right now I want to take a little step farther, my money ideas. So I want to really I want to test myself. How good am I in promoting a new business adventure? Because, all my performances has been basically the motivation behind this. You have to promote your art somehow. You get your name out. And this was always like in the back of their head. I have my name out now. I have done many paintings and I sold many paintings. And a new challenge for me is going back to the drawing board. And I designed new dollar bills. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
$10.
I see the back, yeah.
They're totally personalized.
So the first one was a hundo, and now you're going with you're settling in on the...
Because the philosophy is behind this one, the idea is motivation for me. I want to sell 1 million of these pieces. It's a $10 art to in exchange for $10, it's easier for people to invest than buying a $100 bill or buying a $500 or $1,000 painting.
You're casting a wider net, yeah. Accessible to more people.
So the idea behind is like I'm selling basically a piece of myself. This is a totally hand design. It just looks like, but it's not. It's complete. Every single element of this bill, it's created by myself. And it's called United Artists of America and $10.
For those of you just listening, this new dollar art is not like the 18 by 3 foot. It's the actual almost size of a bill, like a Disney dollar. But instead of Mickey Mouse, Bert took the time to like really dial it in.
This one's got, what is it, Norman Rockwell on it?
Yeah, Norman Rockwell. Because I was thinking of who I'm going to put as an image. And the most striking, or for me personally, most important artist of America was actually Rockwell for me, because he really reflect the daily life of Americans. I mean, if somebody's not familiar with him, but he done lots of drawings for Time magazine.
Yeah, it was kind of like the nuclear family, picket fence, 2 dogs, a car.
Yeah.
Well, it's really just as-lived stuff, not, celebrities or big buildings necessarily, or, Rolls Royces.
But no, it'd be hard to argue with, honestly.
And so I chose him as the person on the front. Anyway, on the back, it's a piece of my artwork, including my 3 dogs. And it says, instead of "in God we trust," it says, "in dog I trust."
Here.
Yeah.
So, of course, it's a play with the words, just reverse with God thing. But also, it's my true belief. I'm a dog lover, and it's for me like the truest being for mankind. I mean, there are many other animals. There's a cow, and the same with a horse and a cat, But for me, my experience was, first of all, just mostly dogs. It's like they're always like true in their
They're innocent and
innocent, and they're feeling, they're straightforward. That's what I would love to have of my friends. Straightforward. There's one thing I have to say. What I don't like on the West Coast, and it happened mostly in the West Coast. It didn't occur as much on the East Coast or in Berlin. Matter of fact, when you have a show, an opening, people don't tell you the truth. It's like here, you want to have an opening for every artist or anything you do. When you show, when you exhibit anything, you want to have a real response because it's very important for you. Like how people, and here it's more like, I like it. And I had people walking into a gallery in New York or even Berlin, even more so. It's like, did you do this shit? Did you really do it? How did you get into this show?
Yeah.
It's like it's more direct, and that's what I didn't like if I get the response, but I prefer this one.
A real critique.
Rather have a hard truth than
like,
a sweet falsehood.
And especially among artists, it's like so important for me to have friends who really tell you, it's like, man, it's like you're not on the right track, or like to get any feedback,
Like this dollar thing, never gonna work.
For example, I'm really gonna prove you wrong.
I can't wait. I can't wait. You just needed a little more push, right? I understand what you're saying because I'm from the Midwest, and when you get out to the West Coast, people are more willing to skate along the edge to not insult you, but by doing that, it's almost an insult because, like, what you really want is their opinion. You're already vulnerable.
They make a statement that is without really taking any stand.
Yeah,
but it's hard for everybody. It's also hard for me when I have.
But it's a critique. A critique is a critique.
It's like, but he does art and he sells a lot of paintings and very good. He is good in what he does, but it's not anything I would do.
Yeah. I get
so, but it's hard to tell when you have an artist. For example, you have somebody. You go into most likely it happened in a group show. Somebody, and then you're standing in front of a painting. You didn't meant to stay in front of the painting, it just happened, you just stop there in front of the painting. All of a sudden, boom, an artist comes up and it's like, oh, I'm the artist, do you have any questions? It's like, yeah, how long did you do this? For how long are you a painter? And then he would tell me, and then I try to get out of this because I would try to avoid his question. It's like, how do you like it?
Right, he's trying to...
I try to get away from this, but then it's very, very hard, to be really honest. A guy is a nice guy, whatever, or it's a nice girl, whatever, but you don't want to really offend anybody, But my thing, what I do, is just like, I wouldn't sign it. I would tell him I wouldn't sign it.
Yeah, Black Gesso.
So that's it,
Yeah, well, bring it back, Bert. The honest critique. I mean, especially if you're from your art brethren, you don't really want to, if you're not making enough work or showing it to enough people, you should be eliciting some negative and positive responses. If everything you're getting is positive, it's not. You're either not getting the honest critique, or you're not showing enough people, or you're not making enough work. You gotta take it on the chin sometimes, and those things are what make you be better, get better more fast, quicker.
Well, if you tell me it's good and it's actually shit, I'm gonna find out on the back end. So it's
not doing you any favors.
Yeah, exactly. You're just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah. Well, that's a refreshing take, Bert. We appreciate that candor and honesty. So what about the doll arts? We're going all the way.
So the idea is going to be how to promote this challenge. For me, it's about, Damien Hirst, his true art is promotion. And the wall, the true art behind this one, it's the promotion. It's like how you promote yourself. Jeff Koons.
Banksy too.
It's about Banksy. Yeah. Banksy it's higher up.
Sure.
In my eyes.
Well, yeah.
He's more...
But as far as promotion goes, there's nobody better at it.
Yeah, but he's very good in the thoughts behind this one.
Sure.
And Jeff Koons doesn't do his art.
I get you, yeah.
They execute nothing, really. We actually don't know if Banksy does this really himself.
Sure.
Because nobody's seen him doing it, But he is more like, for me, a step up of a little bit above. It's my personal view. It's just my personal opinion, Nothing objective about this one. It's just subjective. But it's all about promotion. So whatever I have done in the past was in a desperate situation of you have to promote yourself, you have to sell your paintings, you have to pay your rent, So now I want to challenge myself, coming actually from the field I studied with, design,
Square one.
to get people enough people agree accepting these $10 and exchanging $10 for $10. And I'm going a little bit farther this time. He's a serial number, it's still open, just squares in, you can tell. But I'm gonna handwrite the serial number in, and I'm gonna keep a ledger of whoever bought anything, which one has, one serial number matches the person who bought this, So I'm hoping to generate, and I have to come with an idea how to promote my product.
Well, this is a good step one, since we're
good step one is for me, actually, you come back into play. I ask you to help me.
Sure.
I will do a few performances. First, I'm going to start easy. It should be silly. I'm going to set up a money exchange booth in the desert. And I try to sell in the middle of the desert with nobody is around my things. So I'm going to post this on social media. People think, it's never longer than a minute.
Sure.
Preferable, you have to get the story across in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And and then the people just think,
But the crucial part to that is the social media, because unlike in the past when you didn't have that, exactly. This is actual vehicle. I think maybe you might have been a little bit ahead of your time, because this is something that can then go rapid fire. As quick as you can think of something cool, it could actually spread. So it could be your friend. Yeah.
But other than NFT, this is not an NFT, because this is a handmade thing here. I mean, it's printed, but it's basically done handmade and hand signed, and you actually have a physical thing in your hand, and NFT you just have the image on the screen, So it's still coming back to this, so original artwork. But my goal is to promote it first a little bit in a silly way, but then stop short on this one and go right into back to Wall Street and set up my money exchange booth in Wall Street, set up in downtown LA, in Beverly Hills, in art places, where you actually could get in trouble for this one. Because for people, it looks like you have money exchange and the cops come by and you see like a stack of money, and I want to have a stack of money. I want to have a suitcase full of money, So, and then try to exchange this one, and people are going to come up to you, They want to see what's going on, create a little bit stir, Gonna clarify that, of course, it's not the real thing, But I'm still trading, in the public.
Yeah.
As I want to see how far I can go until I hit Wall Street again.
And then we'll take it public.
And
there you go, we IPO it.
Right, a public offering, initial public offering, And but I want to see if I could promote this one that's people like reach a larger crowd of people who actually want to have just spend $10 now to get my original signature, and they are on my book, So it's basically in a baseball card.
Yeah, it's a
collector item. That's and I want to challenge myself, and I have to come up with further ideas and real ideas, concrete ideas. How can I really work on this one and promoting, In the meantime, I'm going to keep painting. I try to hustle my paintings. Anybody interested to buy some paintings? www.esenherz.com.
Esenherz.
You might want to spell this.
Yeah, Esenherz.
ESENHERZ.com.
And then
on the website, and there's a page that says available artwork. Guess what? They're available.
Yeah, and you might have a couple. You probably have 2-3 paintings left? Or do you have more?
Well, I can't lie here. I have a bunch of paintings.
Oh, okay. Damn it. Well,
I'm always overproducing. I never stop producing. Even if I'm not selling, I would never stop producing.
Yeah, take notes. Right on, Bert. Well, thanks for coming in and rehashing some old stories and telling people where they can see your work. We can also list your social media so they can see you there, and they can be on the lookout for the Doll Arts Experiment and do that. Do you have any final questions, Eric?
One thing that maybe it could be brief, maybe it could be long. We'll see. And you kind of touched on it a little, and I was thinking this all along, both with respect to this upcoming project, but also with scoping out the scene. Each of these times you made a significant geographic move. Do you feel like having that really early experience being inside on advertising has helped you, or has guided your ability to kind of navigate these situations by being really analytical of people?
Sure. I think in any whatever step I took, was always a primary background reason, was a background driven background was always my background as being a designer and worked in the advertisement industry, because you have to promote it. Anything I've done, I have a little painting, it's $40 a painting. Now I have to stick out and I have to promote it to actually get $40 for this one.
Yeah, because otherwise you could have the whatever Mona Lisa or the most beautiful masterpiece, but if nobody sees it, you're walking home and putting it back in the trunk. And
or like when what happened many times, and was one reason why I walked across America, it was like, I don't want to be the one guy living in New York City, miserable, doing one job. And many people I met came with a dream to New York to make it as an artist, an actor, or whatever, kind of in the industry, entertainment industry, somehow be known, because there's so many possibilities, in the big city. And then instead of going home, and trying to do the same thing at home, they're struggling through, get the rent together, and it's much harder, and then end up with a job who pays the rent, but they're miserable for the rest of their life. When I walked across America, I always tried to get the conversation turned from my sporty event, how many miles I'm walking. Gets like, my slogan was, support your local artist, and he wouldn't leave. And I met the mayor of Nebraska City. She was an amazing person. I walked right into her project. She had a project going like this, supporting local artists, even went farther. I mean, she just went out of her way. It's like inviting artists from all over the world to be in Nebraska City, working and getting a show, getting basically, getting for a month or 2 months, a nice living,
So it's important to keep the dream alive.
And this was very important because, for example, when you're an artist, and then you have any skill, you're good in graffiti or good in drawings, good in painting, the local people could support you multiple times. They just ask you, oh, could you make me a graffiti? I want to design my wall or whatever, and pay you for it. Or like in a local store, just features you and invites people over, because they want to show your artwork or whatever, or even just making a sign for somebody, Support the artists that you can make your living out of this in your hometown, or building or open up, for example, a community space for theater, and everybody gives a little bit money that the people actually have time to rehearse, play or whatever, Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to, it's not all good, whatever gets this big stage in New York, It always gets pushed to be good, But no, but there's nobody behind it. People like who are left behind, leaving behind their hometown, ending up in a miserable state of mind by doing the job just to pay the rent, because they didn't have the luck or the chances or whatever happened to it that they couldn't make it in the art, and couldn't survive, It's like instead of just like, okay, here, it's not my town. I'm going back to my city or my town, or my village or whatever, It's like, but people are going to give me a job. Very nice one I really love to do.
Yeah, so you'd rather...
And I'm qualified to do.
Rather be happy and stoked to do your art versus chasing what is the dream of art, but then you end up working like every artist who graduated anywhere. You're working at least one side hustle to kind of still keep it alive versus just stay with the dream entirely. Be happy the whole time.
Just the easiest part is like having an empty wall filled with not a print of somebody, but look around first, around your neighborhood. What else could fit on the wall, local artists,
Proactive in supporting your local artists. And that includes Location 1980. So all of you listening to this and you want to help Bert support his Doll Arts project or help support Orange County and Southern California's most unique community of artists, we're always open to a donation, and you can definitely get some original art here.
Well, and visitors too. If you're listening to this, like, wow, I dig the energy of these guys. What's that about? Like, come on down. We'll tell you what it's about. We'll show you.
Yeah, VIP tours and all that. And I think with that, Bert, we're going to sign off. Do you have any closing remarks? Shout outs? Anybody you want to thank?
I thank you guys for inviting me, and it's an honor for me. But I also wanted to tell you, you came a long way. This was 1980s to create, and you really stuck to it. You just did take us as a kind of fashionable thing to do, and then you drop us again. No, you really stuck to it, and I really.
Well, thank you, Bert. I appreciate that. You were a good mentor for that. Like you were saying, one of the reasons I stuck with it is because by doing this, we've made so many artists happy. Just find their lane, find their vein, myself included. I've always considered, my last name Fortune. I'm very fortunate. I feel wealthy like a king, but my currency is happiness. It's I do get to do what I love, and it's so infectious that it's kept me doing this, and it's one of the reasons we started the podcast. So come full circle from friend to mentor and fellow artist. We appreciate it. Thanks for coming in. I think we're going to wrap it. Thanks so much for Eric and Bert. For all you guys out there that are art fans, I hope you dug that episode. We really appreciate your support. If you could like and subscribe, if you're looking on watching us on YouTube, or if you're just listening on Spotify or anywhere else you get your podcast, just give us a rate, a review, send us a comment. Check out the website, Bert's website. Is it Esenherz.com?
Esenherz.com. Esenherz.com.
And buy a painting, and thanks so much. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see how this journey goes.
Yeah.
Good work, Bert. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Look behind me. Look on the table. Look everywhere. There's fucking cash everywhere.
Жить.